Welcome to a new podcast. Indiana is Ag+Bio+Science, presented by AgriNovus Indiana and Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gerry Dick, the host of Inside Indiana Business, and I will be the host of this weekly podcast where we'll bring you conversations, stories over the next several months. We're partnering with AgriNovus on this new venture, and I'm very excited to have Beth Bechdol, the president and the CEO of AgriNovus, with me now to talk about what we will really, Beth, hear in the coming months. Welcome.
Thanks, Gerry, and welcome to all of you listeners out there. We are excited to join Inside Indiana Business in bringing you this new opportunity to learn about the Ag Biosciences in Indiana and all of the imaginative and creative innovators, researchers, and entrepreneurs in this space.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the conversations as well. But I've got to imagine, Beth, there are a few people out there who may be saying, what are the Ag Biosciences? Because I will say I cover it, and sometimes I wonder too. So how do you define the Ag Biosciences?
So great question.
Yes.
It is a new word. We're working on the Merriam-Webster dictionary placement soon, so stay tuned. But it is a new word to many. But think about it, Gerry, as the sector where food, agriculture, science, and technology all converge. So it truly is a word in addition equation. It is 21st century modern ag plus bio, which are the life sciences, the Indiana pharmaceutical industry, the health space, plus science and tech. And in that case, we've got robotics, we have sensors, we have IoT, the Internet of Things. So it makes sense then, right, that Indiana would be a natural leader in ag bioscience research innovation, given all of our assets in these converging spaces. Yeah,
amazing assets indeed. You know, each week on this podcast, we'll bring 10-minute conversations with an individual who is paving the way in Hoosier Ag Bioscience innovation, from budding startups to prominent researchers, visionary leaders. We'll really give you, I think, a wide array of guests that are working in a space where production agriculture, technology, and research are all really working together to make a difference here in Indiana, but not just here in Indiana, around the world. And it really is happening here in Indiana, and we look forward to listening and joining in on these great conversations in the months ahead. So, Beth, as we start, AgriNovus, and I remember when this was announced, being at the announcement, and I thought at the time, what an incredible opportunity to bring together all of the assets that exist here in the state, which are numerous. How would you describe AgriNovus?
So I think it's important to start that AgriNovus is a part of the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership. And so as I'm out around the state talking about what we do as an organization, I find that a lot of people actually grasp very quickly the concept of AgriNovus because we have so many great peer organizations like BioCrossroads, like Connexus, like ESN, like Ascend, and like TechPoint. And when you really boil it down, what do each one of those organizations do? They are in a place to catalyze, to advance, to promote a particularly important economic cluster to the state of Indiana. And so in a lot of ways, what does AgriNovus do? Well, we as a part of that family of business, we get to promote and accelerate the growth of the Indiana Ag Bioscience community.
Yeah. One of the things that struck me at the announcement and shortly thereafter was the amount of buy-in that there seemed to be right off the bat. I mean, this is a new organization, a new effort, a new initiative, but boy, it just seemed like people were jumping on board very quickly.
Yeah, we really very intentionally focused on that kind of buy-in from the very beginning. There was strategy behind that. And in a lot of ways, it was to make sure that everybody was on the same page about the mission of the initiative, that we all saw the potential for the Ag Biosciences in the same way. And so from the very beginning, a few years ago, as AgriNovus was launched, we had the state of Indiana, our Economic Development Corporation, and our State Department of Agriculture. We had tremendous industry partners. We had university leadership. We had philanthropic support. And that has proven to be a really important position for us, I think, as we now are building out programs, building out initiatives, and really rallying all of these diverse partners to be a part of our efforts.
How did it all start? How did it really begin to come to life?
It's a fascinating story. And actually, we were sort of a project, you might say, with quotes around that, of BioCrossroads. So the CEO at the time of Dow Agri-Sciences sat on the BioCrossroads board of directors and could very squarely, in his mind's eye, understand why his company viewed themselves as a life sciences enterprise in Indiana. But at the company's core, most people view them as an agricultural business, right? And so he posed the question to BioCrossroads leadership of, I think there are a lot more companies out there like us in Indiana who people recognize as ag innovators, ag scientific technology leaders. So maybe BioCrossroads, you should go kind of take a look at this. And one thing leads to another. One white paper leads to a business plan, which leads to fundraising, which leads to all the momentum you just described. And so AgriNovus really had its start inside BioCrossroads and now is a full-fledged part of CICP alongside it.
It's probably an unfair question for you to answer because you could go in many different directions, I think. But as you look at what has transpired, what this initiative, what AgriNovus has really helped to foster and get started in the state. There have been numerous big economic development announcements. I know there's a big push, on workforce and getting talent. Oh, so many aspects. Talk about these first few years of AgriNovus.
Yeah, so a lot of it was about defining a mission, right? And really figuring out how AgriNovus could play a convening role in really putting Indiana on the map to be a national and a global leader in this space. So a lot of people, we were not too terribly proud as to not take pages out of other people's playbooks, right? So we look at Research Triangle Park, we look at Kansas City, we look at the coasts, we look at these innovation hubs and these innovation regions and realized that a lot of them actually don't necessarily have a very comprehensive strategy to how they're going to really advance their region or their state. And so we set out very methodically to really identify what we think are the three main areas that are really going to propel Indiana in the future. And the first is public education and awareness, which is why we're here with you, because we need people to understand what Ag+Bio+Science is. When I, who've spent my entire life, still live on a family farm, I think about ag, just those two letters, AG, ag. Most people in Indiana assume that the only thing that I'm talking about is our farming sector. Well, as I've just shared with you, the Ag Biosciences has its foundation in farming, but the exciting part is when you layer on all of these additive technologies and innovations to it. So we got to go out and tell the story. Second is talent and workforce, just what you said. We are in the same place that so many other industries are where we need new and different kinds of skill sets. Many of those in data, many of those in new different types of engineering, computer science, a lot of related fields that haven't necessarily been traditional agricultural disciplines or skill sets. And the last piece that is important to us where we think we have a role to play is in the startup community. We think we have a real role in Indiana to really build a pipeline of early stage scale up companies that are going to be the next, I hope, Cortevas, the next Elanco's, the next Beck's hybrids, whether they're starting in a family, whether they're being started as a student-led idea out of one of our research universities. There's a lot of opportunity in this space for early stage companies to come together.
Very exciting potential indeed. As we wrap up this initial podcast, you talk about the startups, you talk about the innovation here. In these future podcasts, I know that's going to be a big focus, is storytelling and telling the stories of innovation that exist in really every corner of the state.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to hear the voices of Indiana's Ag Biosciences. I've gotten to know many of them personally. I should never admit that I have favorites, but there clearly are some of those stories that just really stand out. And it's either because of a family, because of the success of an innovator, because of the ingenuity of an entrepreneur, the creativity of a researcher or a faculty member. But you're exactly right. These innovators are coming from all across the state of Indiana, which I get really excited about, that we have innovation that's taking place right here in central Indiana, but it's also Lafayette and Fort Wayne and Terre Haute. But when you even peel the layers back even more, they're in towns like Albion and Milford, places that some Hoosiers wouldn't even know necessarily where on the map those are, but they are doing really exciting things in some of our maybe more challenged rural communities, which I think portends big opportunity for us in this space.
Beth Bechdol is the CEO of AgriNovus. Beth, thanks for your leadership. Thanks for being on this initial podcast as well. And we certainly look forward to future podcasts. Ag+Bio+Science. It's going to be a weekly production partnership between AgriNovus Indiana and Inside Indiana Business. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for being a partner.
This podcast is a product of Inside Indiana Business, hosted by Gerry Dick, produced by Libby Fritz and Joe Ullery, and was recorded on location at Launch Fishers. More people get Indiana business news from Inside Indiana Business than any other source.